A fire hose is a high-pressure hose that carries water or other fire retardant, such as foam, to a fire to extinguish it. Outdoors, it attaches either to a fire engine or a fire hydrant. Indoors, it can permanently attach to a building's standpipe or plumbing system. The usual working pressure of a fire hose can vary between 8 and 20 bar. 800 and 2000 kilopascals, 116 and 290 pounds per square inch, while its bursting pressure can be up to 83 bar, 8300 kilopascals, 1204 pounds per square inch. After use, a fire hose is usually hung to dry, because standing water that remains in a hose for a long time can deteriorate the material and render it unreliable or unusable. Therefore, the typical fire station often has a high structure to accommodate the length of a hose for such preventative maintenance. On occasion, fire hoses are used for crowd control, see also water cannon, including most notably by Bull Connor in Alabama against civil rights protesters in 1964. While still a common practice in many countries, citation needed, it is no longer used in the U.S. until the mid-19th century. Most fires were fought by water transported to the scene in buckets. Original hand pumpers discharged their water through a small pipe or monitor attached to the top of the pump tub. It was not until the late 1860s that hoses became widely available to convey water more easily from the hand pumps, and later steam pumpers, to the fire. In Amsterdam in the Dutch Republic, the superintendent of the fire brigade, Jan van der Heyden, and his son Nicholas took firefighting to its next step with the fashioning of the first fire hose in 1673. These 50-foot, 15 meters, lengths of leather were sewn together like a bootleg. Even with the limitations of pressure, the attachment of the hose to the gooseneck nozzle allowed closer approaches and more accurate water application. Van der Heyden was also credited with an early version of a suction hose using wire to keep it rigid. In the United States, fire hose was introduced in Philadelphia in 1794. This canvas hose proved not durable enough and sewn leather hose was then used. The sewn leather hose tended to burst, so the fabricated of leather fastened together with copper rivets and washers was invented by members of Philadelphia's Humane Hose Company. Around 1890, unlined fire hoses made of circular woven linen yarns began to replace leather hoses. They were certainly much lighter. As the hose fibers, made of flax, became wet, they swelled up and tightened the weave, causing the hose to become watertight. Unlined hoses, because of their lack of durability, were rapidly replaced with rubber hoses in municipal fire service use. It continued to be used for use on interior hose lines and hose racks until the 1960s, citation needed, and is still used in some areas for forestry applications. Following the invention of the vulcanization process as a means of curing raw soft rubber into a harder, more useful product, the fire service slowly made the transition from bulky and unreliable leather hose to the unlined linen hose, then to a multi-layer, rubber-lined and coated hose with an interior fabric reinforcement. This rubber hose was as bulky, heavy, and stiff as leather hose but was not prone to leaking. It also proved more durable than unlined linen hose. Its wrapped construction resembled some hose used today by industry, for example, fuel delivery hose used to service airliners. Modern fire hoses use a variety of natural and synthetic fabrics and elastomers in their construction. These materials allow the hoses to be stored wet without rotting and to resist the damaging effects of exposure to sunlight and chemicals. Modern hoses are also lighter weight than older designs, and this has helped reduce the physical strain on firefighters. Various devices are becoming more prevalent that remove the air from the interior of fire hose, commonly referred to as fire hose vacuums. This process makes hoses smaller and somewhat rigid, thus allowing more fire hose to be packed or loaded into the same compartment on a firefighting apparatus.